To the 12 tribes of the children of Israel scattered abroad, in the name of the Most High Yah, or Creator, and Jesus Christ of Nazareth, or King who rules the earth, I say greeting. Today we're going to look at the theory of evolution and the theory of natural selection. That is nothing but a doctrine of devils that tries to debunk the Bible and the Creator. But the Creator of heaven and earth, his name is Jehovah. He cannot be debunked. So this is Charles Darwin, and he's the one who wrote The Origin of the Species, The Voyage of the Beagle, The Descent of Man, The Theory of Natural Selection. And just to show you, it is a very recent theory, and a theory is not fact, okay? This is around 1854, and the theory has already failed. So whenever you want to know if something is true, the Most High says if it doesn't come to pass, then it is a false prophet or a false prophecy. So Darwin had 10 children. His spouse was Emma Wedgwood, which was also one of his close relatives. And his children also had some of them had birth defects. So if you're going to propose a theory, it should show up in your own family, in your own species. So the species that the Darwin says he comes from is the chimpanzees. He says he come from a comparison between the skeletons of the orangutan, the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and man, taken from an 1868 book by the biologist Ernst Haeckel, Darwin's disciple in Germany. So that's where he got some of his things from. So we're going to be reading from many books today. This is one is Charles Darwin, The Voyage of the Beagle. Okay? So according to him, chimpanzees, orangutan, and gorillas is where his people come from. We, the Negroes, are the children of Israel. We don't come from any of these animals because the Most High already told us each thing is produced after its own kind. So we are created beings. The Most High says he made us from dirt, and Christ and the children of Israel are the color of burnt brass. So you see, he says we were hairless when we were born, and I can see I'm hairless and the color of burnt brass. So chimpanzees, they're native to sub-Saharan Africa, the Congo jungle, West Africa, North. It's an endangered species on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. The orangutan, so even Darwin is not native to none of these areas. Orangutan, native to Indonesia, Malaysia. It's got 3 species. They live about 30 years in the wild. They eat vegetables and ovulatory life of 5 to 8 to 11 years. They have gestation of 9 months. So that's orangutan, and that's what he said they descend from. So they should know who they descend from, but they don't speak for Negroes because we descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our Creator is our Father. So gorillas are herbivorous. That's what they say, but we even have evidence of gorillas eating tortoises and things like that. They're from sub-Saharan Africa, eastern, western, both critically endangered. And that's mankind right there. That Darwin says he's from these species. And his species is also critically endangered. So we're going to look at the theory of natural selection, what he says. And it has already failed him and those species that you see, they are all endangered. So this is the introduction, page 13. It says, and what is Darwin's theory of evolution? It can, like most profound theories, be simply put. It is that life on this planet and we don't call it planet, we call it Earth, has evolved from single beginnings, and that it has done so by means of natural selection. And by natural selection is meant the drastic shifting power of nature to weed out those offspring of any mating which are the least fit to survive in their surroundings. Thus, the fitter survive, and their particular characteristics are passed on to future generations, causing gradual change and, in course of time, new species. The story of how in the year 1831 the young Charles Darwin got the job of sailing as a naturalist on board the Beagle is a romance in itself. He had just graduated at Cambridge with a view to taking holy orders. So he wanted to be a priest or a minister of the gospel. But there he had paid rather more attention to the professor of botany, John Henslow, than he had to his own tutors. So then came a request by Robert Fitzroy, captain of the Beagle, who was taking the ship out for a second surveying voyage, that he should be found a competent naturalist to accompany him on the expedition. Henslow thought of going himself. Another established man nearly took the job, then thought of young Darwin. Darwin was only 22 and an amateur naturalist. But Professor Henslow knew that his friend and pupil had both the flair and enthusiasm. So you don't take your cue from people who are amateurs. That goes also for the same thing about people who can't read telling you that, hey, they got revelation from the Most High. If you can't read and you can't write, how do we know what is written is true? Which has to do with books like the Quran and so on that says, hey, I'm not a prophet of letters, but hey, this is what the Most High say. You have to take your cue from experts or professionals or people who are anointed in that work. So already we can see that the theory of evolution is just that, a theory. The orangutans, they are 3 extant species of great apes native to Indonesia and Malaysia. Okay? So if people were descended from them, especially the whites who say that, they would have been native to these lands. But they're not. Orangutans are currently found in the rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra, classified as whatever. So how you know these things are not true? If you read Eusebius, because he had to dispute all these pagan doctrines from the beginning, Josephus had to do it. Anybody who measured the earth in terms of millions of years old, billions of years old, that comes from pagan idolatrous doctrines, because the Hebrews, who the Most High gave his word to, the earth is only measured from start to finish in terms of 10,000 years old. So nobody has come up with a billion-year-old person, billion-year-old anything. They just talking. So, and most of these species are already native to Indonesia, some to Africa, and they spread into Asia. And a lot of them are also on the endangered list, because the same people who tell you that you change into new species is the same ones who go and shoot them with guns and kill them. So gorilla, that's the next one he said that his people descend from. Gorillas are ground-dwelling, predominantly herbivorous apes that inhabits the forests of central sub-Saharan Africa. So in the origin, other species, the Africans or the Negroes, they get the lowest rating. Like the Hottentots, if you see the stuff that they write about them in this book, you'll see. But yet still, the people who they said they originate from are native to Africa, Indonesia, where Caucasians are not native to. So Yeah, so these are from Congo and other areas like that, and they are also on the list of endangered species. Okay. Chimpanzee. Let's see. The chimpanzee, also known as the common chimpanzee, robust chimpanzee, or simply chimp, is a species of great ape native to the forests and savannas of tropical Africa. Okay. So all of these are native to places where the Caucasians are not native to, because the Caucasians are native to Europe, excuse me, which is exactly what the Bible said. The chimpanzees listed on the IUCN Red List as an endangered species. Between 170,000 and 300,000 individuals are estimated across its range. The biggest threats to this chimpanzee are habitat loss, poaching, and disease. All right, so the theory of natural selection is not working for any of the three animals that Charles Darwin said his people originated from. In terms of the Caucasians, also, they should be amongst the most in the earth, okay, based on the theory of natural selection and evolution. That also is not what's happening. Caucasians are currently having declining birth rate in all countries in which they live. Okay? Expect the ones now that are trying to bring the birth rates back up, like Russia and Poland. Okay, so in general, rich countries have a declining birth rate, and many rich countries happen to be predominantly Caucasian. Example: Germany, Belgium, Spain. This is from Quora.com. And examples of rich non-Caucasian countries having a declining birth rate: Japan. 2014, more adult diapers are sold in Japan than baby diapers. Singapore, Korea. This is the Caucasian race dying. Around the time that President Kennedy went to Germany and gave his Ich bin ein Berliner speech, Europe represented 12.5% of the world's population. Today it's 7.2%. And if current trends continue, by 2050, only 5% of the world will be European, states Russell Shorter in the New York Times. It says dailymail.co.uk, Latino, Black, and Asian populations grow while more white people are dying than being born in a third of the states. The death rate among Caucasian Americans outstripped the birth rate in 17 states in 2014. First time in history, white deaths outnumber births in the United States. That's www.rt.com. So the deaths of white people outnumbered births for the first time in U.S. history, the Census Bureau revealed. The census predicts a significant drop in birth rates versus death rate will be regular by 2025. Low white birth rate genetically based, okay? Fertility rates keep dropping, and whites use a lot of fertility clinics and so on. Non-whites will be the majority in the US and Europe by 2015, theguardian.com.uk. And the stories are everywhere. It has the whites are dying from suicide, from drug addiction, overdose, despair, whatever the reason is. It's in line with the prophecies that went out against certain nations in the scriptures. But scientists, they don't take the scriptures into account. If you look in Obadiah, if you look at the prophecies that went out against Edom because of what he has done to Jacob's children and what he's done in the earth, not every nation is going to make it to the end also because of their own behavior. The promotion of abortion, the promotion of homosexuality, the promotion of transgenderism, the promotion of the women liberalization movement, the promotion of gun violence and wars, the promotion of where you have relation with animals, these things, all these things that are considered to be vile behavior, liberal thoughts, liberal policies, liberal ideas, is what helps declining populations get wiped off the earth. Witchcraft, sorcery, wars, all those things are promoted by these races. And then you see some nations like Canaan, Moab, Ammon, Amalek, Edom. Some of them can get forgiveness because the Most High say He'll have mercy on whom He'll have mercy, but you only get forgiveness if you repent. And so far in the earth, a lot of them are agnostics, atheists, idolaters. They're really not repenting, so the actions show up over time. So Obadiah is accurate, but Charles Darwin is not. Okay? So this is how you defend the Bible and so on. So how do we know the Bible is right? Whatever it's prophesied, it comes to pass. So in the scriptures, Paul warned Timothy, because we do have good scientists, because Abraham was a scientist. He taught the Egyptians science. And also, if you look at Josephus, in Josephus against Appian, the Grecians, the Syrians, they were all taught by the Hebrews, the Jews, because the Jews got their information from the Most High. Okay? So this is page 604, and it says, I think therefore that it is evident that everybody that Charillus means us, because the Solomon mountains are in our country wherein we inhabit, as it is also the lake called asphaltitis, for this is a broader and larger lake than any other that is in Syria, and thus does Charillus make mention of us. So if you want to know who else knows about the Jews, the Hebrews outside of the Bible, Josephus telling you where to find that information. But now that not only the lowest sort of the Grecians, but those that are held in the greatest admiration for their philosophic improvements among them, did not only know the Jews, but when they lighted upon any of them, admired them also, it is easy for any to know. For Clearchus, who was the scholar of Aristotle, and inferior to none of the Peripatetics, whomsoever, in his first book concerning sleep, says that Aristotle, his master, related what follows of a Jew, and sets down Aristotle's own discourse with him, the account that this as written down by him. Now for a great part of what this Jew said, it would be too long to recite it, but what includes in it both wonder and philosophy is it may be amiss to discourse of. Now that I may be plain with thee, high Parocaides, I herein seem to thee to relate wonders and what will resemble dreams themselves. Hereupon Hyperochides answered modestly and said, for that very reason it is that all of us are very desirous of hearing what thou art going to say. Then replied Aristotle, for this cause it will be the best to imitate that rule of the rhetoricians, which require us first to give an account of the man and of what nation he was, that so we may not contradict our master's directions. Then said Hyperochides, go on, if it so pleases thee. This man then answered Aristotle, was by birth a Jew, and came from Cilicia. These Jews are derived from the Indian philosophers. They are named by the Indians Kalami, and by the Syrians Judei, and took their name from the country they inhabit, which is called Judea. But for the name of their city, it is a very awkward one, for they call it Jerusalem. So you see, Aristotle and all the Greeks and the Egyptians, all of them got their teachings from the Jews. Sleep is something that the Most High used to communicate with his people. The Jews, as you see, they were called Indians because Esther was queen of India. You can look at the story of Esther and Mordecai, where also the Amalekites were close to being wiped out there because they tried to kill the children of Israel. But the Most High always said, he that diggeth a pit shall fall in it. Okay? So we are called West Indians, and the West Indians are Negroes, and we are black. So that's where our name come from. It's not new that we've been called Indians, because the Jews, the real Jews, are black. It says they are the color of burnt brass. And Judah mourn it, they are black unto the ground. Job 30:30, my skin is black upon me. Solomon says, I'm black and comely. And we always sing about that Zion, Jerusalem, that's our homeland. But we're currently scattered abroad in all lands. So all the philosophers of ancient times, they got their teachings from the scriptures. They mingled it with paganism and then called it philosophy. Apostle Paul disputed with the philosophers, told them what is good science, what is not. Abraham taught the Egyptian science. Daniel taught the Babylonian science. He was skilled in the sciences, skilled with dreams. When they forgot their dreams, he had to go to the Most High to say, hey, what did the man dream and what does it mean? Joseph was a dreamer. He was able to rule Egypt as well, coming out of prison because of the skills that the Most High gave to the children of Israel. Scientists nowadays, they don't know anything about these things. When somebody dies, they can't bring them back to life. Paul could do that. Peter could do that. They could speak and you live, or speak and you die. That's the word, the living word, how powerful it is. So science doesn't know everything, but the Most High knows everything. And also science, they're good scientists, which are the Christians, the Jews, the Hebrews, the Israelites. And then there are bad scientists, which work with things like the sorceries. So everybody, they use magic. Those are Satan's scientists. So you got to know the difference between them. And this is what Paul was telling Timothy. Okay, in 1 Timothy 6 verse 20. It says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called. So when you see the science failed, when everybody have a different year, some say billions of years, millions of years, man come from monkey, monkey come from man, yet you see they all dying. The people who bring out those theories, those are science falsely so called. But scientists need to know that there are different types of beings in heaven versus beings on earth. And this is addressed in 1 Corinthians 15 of the Holy Hebrew Bible. And we use the 1611 edition with the Apocrypha, which is the authorized version. Okay. It says, be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners. Awake to righteousness and sin not, for some have not the knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame. But some man will say, how are the dead raised up, and with what body do they come? Thou fool, that which thou sowest is not quickened except it die. And that which thou sowest not, that the body shall be but bear grain. It may chance of wheat or of some other grain. But God giveth it a body as it hath pleased him, and to every seed his own body. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. The last man, The last Adam was made a quickening spirit. Howbeit, that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. And as is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthy, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, neither doth corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I shew you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trump shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. So Paul goes into the different types of flesh: celestial beings, terrestrial beings, earthly beings. We know we come from the earth because we look like the earth, and when we die we go back to the earth, and as you can see, earth is the color. So that's something we can relate to. We can relate to when we dead, we get buried in the earth. We can relate to the resurrection, the death, the burial. You can search for people who have died and gone to heaven, people who have died and gone to hell. Okay, that's all over YouTube. So their stories are first-hand accounts of these things. You can watch demons being cast out. TB Joshua, that's all he does on his show. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 40, so tells you there are celestial bodies, bodies terrestrial, but the glory is the celestial one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. You can see some of these things also in Ezekiel, what he saw. And in Revelation, you see all different types of beings with different bodies and so on. So those are things, if human beings see one of those, we would faint. That's why Jesus had to come down to earth in the form of a man, so that we wouldn't faint and we wouldn't die. Because you see, when the Messiah ascended to the children of Israel in the book of Exodus, the mountain smoke. He said, don't let them come near lest they die. So Jesus had to come to earth in a form that human bodies could tolerate. Okay? So animals are after their own kind. Plant kind, bird kind, every kind of kind. And the Most High who created them tell you which kind is clean to eat, which kind is not clean to eat. For example, these Leviticus 11:29, these also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth. The weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after its kind. Those are unclean. We're not supposed to eat them. Mouse unclean, don't eat them. Weasel. So when the botanists went to South America and they saw all these different animals and creeping things, they were shocked because they never had seen them in Europe. But that doesn't mean every species is in the same place because of the climate and so on. The Most High scatters his creation all over, but they were shocked. So out of the shock of what they saw came the theory of evolution and the theory of natural selection. But theories are not facts. Okay? And Paul said, don't even bother with philosophers and stuff because a lot of them don't know what they're talking about. And he disputed with the Epicureans and so on. So he talks about the sloth in his book and the ants. But Proverbs 15 verse 19, the way of the slothful man is as an edge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. And again, none of the ancients had a theory that man came from monkeys or anything like that. So it didn't come down the line as such. That's just a new theory that Charles Darwin made up in the 1800s. And already it's not even 300 years and the theory has failed. Ants, those are insects. Proverbs 6:6-8. Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares her food in the summer and gathers her provision in the harvest. So that's something we can go outside and look at ants and see how they're behaving. 4 things that are small on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. The ants are not a strong people, but they prepare their food in the summer. He talks about the ostrich in his book. This is the book. Talks about the ostrich. The ostrich is in the book of Job. So what they should do, all scientists should go to the book of Job, answer all the questions presented in the book of Job, go to first address and second address in the book of the Apocrypha in the 1611, answer those questions presented there. Then you'll know if you can ask the Most High questions or even answer them. If people can't even figure out people, how are they going to understand the things of the Most High? That's the same thing Judith said in the book of Judith. So Job 39:13, gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich? Scientists, how are bones formed in the womb? Answer those questions. The Most High said to Jeremiah, before I formed thee in the womb, I knew thee. That's why abortion is not supposed to happen. Because if you look at the courses in the books of Enoch, in the Shepherd of Hermas, it tells you those aborted babies, they go back to their makers and their parents are going to suffer for what they did to those babies. Because Ezekiel 18 says, all souls are mine. So the Most High is the one who plant those souls and those people in your womb, and he knows what you're going to become even before you're born. So Lamentations 4:3, they went and saw a whole bunch of sea monsters and fossils down in South America and wherever they traveled on the Beagle. So it says, even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness. So the Bible tells you about sea monsters. Leviathan, Behemoth, and all the creatures in the sea. We don't know all of them, but he tells you that they're there. So that's not a new theory. That's a fact. The Bible tells you these things. Okay? So you have to know the difference between real versus fake scientists. The real Hebrew Israelites, the real Jews of the Bible, which is Christ's tribe, and the Christians who were the early Christians, all of them were skilled in the sciences, healing, miracles, signs, wonders, all those things. And we only believe in Creator, Jehovah. We only believe in Jesus Christ of Nazareth. And we can use what the Most High put on earth to cure diseases and do all kind of stuff. Raise the dead, this, that, and the other. Just like Paul, Peter, and them did. He talks about the apothecary in the scriptures. Those are people who are skilled in mixing herbs. Speaking, he sent his word and healed them. So sometimes we can speak and be healed. When my mom had a stroke, and she's in her 82 year, we prayed and fasted, and she was able to walk again. She was able to come out of diapers. She was able to live another 4 years and die at the age of 86. That's what's called a miracle, prayer, sign, and a wonder. When doctor tell you one thing and you can pray and have these things come to pass, the Most High hears his children and he answers them and he sends his word and heals them. So that's why we believe in creation. Miracles, signs, wonders, the soul, the spirit, heaven, hell, angels, good versus evil, thoughts and attitudes. These are things that the theory of evolution and the theory of natural selection, they don't cover those things. Jesus, when he was on earth, he wore a garment like a coat and it had no seams. How do you make those things? They can't answer some of those questions. You know what I mean? They don't cover diseases by bloodline. They're specific to some humans and not to others. Like Negroes, we get all of the diseases that the Most High says he's going to put upon us if we sin and we don't obey his words. Specific diseases on earth you can see are only specific to Negroes. Some are specific to Caucasians, Asians. They have their own specific diseases that they get and other races don't get. It doesn't cover things like that. Smooth skin versus hairy skin. If it come from monkey, why wouldn't we be hairy? The Most High said when Jacob was born, he's going to have smooth skin. That's something we can relate to because we're not hairy people. Skin color. Why do some people come black, white, red, yellow, etc.? That's in the scriptures too. But evolution don't tell you about those things because it never happened. So the Bible says we're black and ruddy for the Israelites, and versus Caucasians who say they are white and red, which is what the scripture says. We can see that. It says the Negroes have woolly hair like wool. We can see that. Some of them have flat nose. We can see that. Okay? We can see it in our music. The Bible talks about in Esdras the inventions of mankind. We can see that. Okay? So, the Creator's timeline versus man timeline. Demons or devils and idolaters and sorcerers. The Creator's time, they don't know it, but they make up their own time to lead people astray. That's why they come with millions a year, billions a year. And in Genesis and the Bible, it tells you the Most High created things after its own kind. Genesis 7 verse 14, for example, they and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, and every bird of every sort. So within even the insect kingdom, how many different species of insects do you have? How many different species of birds? Even among humans, we have different races. Like we have the Negroes, we have the Israelites, we have the Edomites, the Amalekites, the Ishmaelites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Canaanites. They're all not the same people. We are humans, but God chose out of the humans a separate people for himself. And you can see that we look different, we act different, we eat different, we praise different, we walk different, we talk different, we learn different. They're not the same people. The Most High didn't create everybody equal. He said the Israelites were going to be above every nation on earth because he was going to train them. He was going to rule them. He gave them a book of rules how to be righteous people. And when they were righteous, they ruled the earth and they conquered and they invented and everything was good. When they sinned, he punished them the worst because he said they should know better. So Genesis 6:20, fowls after their kind, cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto thee to keep them alive. So that's how the ark came about. People's like, okay, there's no Noah's ark. Well, Noah's ark is in the land of Armenia. Cruise ships that you see today that can house how many tons of people with food, this, that, and the other. That was designed after Noah's ark. That's easy to prove. You know? The Chronicles of Jeremiah, he had a ship like Noah's Ark with the different compartments and they had all these spices, people, and so on. So read those books. That's something that we can relate to. So it tells us which kind of animals and plants and insects to eat because they're after their own kind. Even Leviticus 11:22, even those of them he may eat, the locust after his kind, the bald locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. So they saw a whole bunch of insects in South America and wherever the beetle traveled, and those botanists were shocked. But the Creator says, is anything too hard for me? He's called the Creator for a reason. Okay? So God made the beasts of the earth after his kind. So there's no evolution. The Most High Creator made them. The cattle after their kind and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit. So the evolution theory don't tell you how the plant kind came about either, plus the zillions of creatures. They would have to go through all of those things and tell you exactly how every single thing came. The Big Bang theory is null and void too, because you never see 2 cars crash and a brand new car come out of that. Much better than the crash. You see people maimed, dead. If they're faithful and God protect them, they'll come out alive. But for the most part, when crashes happen, things get wrecked. Okay, so that nullifies the Big Bang Theory itself as well. So the raven's after its kind, the vulture and kite after its kind, and even demons is covered by the scriptures, which evolution doesn't cover. And how to get rid of them, Mark 9:29, Jesus said unto them, this kind come forth by nothing but prayer and fasting. Okay? The stork and heron after her kind, the lapwing after the bat after their kind, the gull, the kite, the vulture after its kind. So they all have their own kinds. Okay? Daniel was a scientist. Okay? Daniel 1:14, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Some types of beings man doesn't understand: cherubims, archangels and angels, seraphims, nephilims, giants, demons, fallen angels, beings described to Ezekiel and John the Revelator. They don't understand these things. Okay? So the Most High put all these things after their own kind on the earth because he's the creator. He can make every kind of creature that he wants. He can do whatever with the creature that he wants. And he says the whole duty of man is to fear the Most High and to keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous. Keep the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the ordinance, the judgment, the Sabbaths. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness. So this whole theory of evolution is bearing false witness against the Most High's creation. And that's what it does, and that's why it has failed. It has failed already. You know, because what it does, it tells you that the Negroes are the worst of creatures. But the Negroes don't have no problem breeding on this earth. But the Caucasians do. And that's why there's fertility clinics and so on. So when you see a prophet comes out and his theories fail, then you know that the Most High has a hand in it to show them that they are wrong. Okay, so this is just, you can buy this book for yourself and go through it, but these are things like, he talks about the ostrich they saw in South America. Job 39:13 talks about that. So it's not a new theory when it comes to ostriches. They've been around from the beginning of time. Talks about lizards. The Most High created them after their own kind. So if they didn't know to read the scriptures before they went on the trip, they wouldn't have been shocked at what they saw. When I went to Trafalgar Square, I saw so many statues there that I'd never seen in my life. So this is Darwin's wife, and she was his close kin and the daughter of Darwin's uncle Josiah Wedgwood, the celebrated potter. And their children, some of them had birth defects because the Bible tells you close kin is not supposed to marry each other. Okay? So these are the men that were important in Darwin's life. And you know, the Bible says the children of Edom have always had a perpetual hatred for the children of Jacob. So Jacob teaches that we were created. They teach no, we're not. But they have to speak for themselves because we were created by the Most High. So some of his friends were T.R. Malthus, T.R. Huxley, Sir Joseph Hunker, and Sir Charles Lyell. Malthus' theory of population, that's also gonna be questionable too. He was a minister, but his theory is inaccurate because they don't take into consideration how many people are dying each day, how many people are being born, what ratio of the population is going to be homosexuals, transgender, what percentage is going to be barren, childless, all of that stuff. You have to take that into consideration. What prophecy went out against which nation?